Hey there, podcast lovers. Looking for a fresh take on the world? Tune into Nicky's World, where we dive into everything hitting the headlines and chat about just what's on our minds. No filters, just real talk. Whether you're sipping your morning coffee or unwinding after a long day, Nicky's World is your go-to for genuine commentary on the real world. Subscribe now if you want to hear the real deal on what's going on. Join the conversation on Nicky's World, where every episode feels like catching up with an old friend. Don't miss out.
What's up, y'all? Let's do this.
Oh, hi guys. Welcome to Nicky's World. I'm Nicky, your host, and today we got to talk about, is MySpace really making a comeback? Because seriously, what heck is MySpace wanting to make a comeback anyway? We got to talk about that and so much more. But before we go any further, guys, if you guys love Nicky's World so much, seriously, y'all, can y'all please consider donating a cup of coffee for me? Because for a price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, and Cumberland Farms, guys, you guys help keep this podcast show alive. You guys help me curate more stories, more topics like this to talk about. I do accept Bitcoin donations. I am on Ko-fi, guys. If you guys want to support, sponsor, donate, tip, and commission me for a photo shoot, if you guys love Nicky's World so much, seriously, y'all, please hit that like, subscribe, please give me a review. Good, bad, and the ugly. Also, guys, I do have a bunch of affiliate links to go through. First off is Minds.com. Minds.com is a Connecticut-based social media platform. They are an awesome alternative to Facebook. So if you guys value your right to freedom of speech like I do, and your right to speak freely without fear of being blocked, suspended, or deplatformed, well then, ladies and gentlemen, head on over to my friends at Minds.com. So, guys, I do have the most awesome affiliate link with Burner. Burner is the less lethal self-defense company, guys. They make their top-of-the-line Burner SD, Burner LE, TCR, Mission 4, and their newest, ladies and gentlemen, their compact launcher. So if you guys value your right to the Second Amendment, your right to self-defense, but you guys want to do it in a less lethal manner, well then, ladies and gentlemen, head on over to my friends at burner.com and they will make sure that you are prepared to defend when the time comes. And full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, I do own a Burner LE pistol myself. And finally, guys, I have this awesome, and I mean the most awesome affiliate link with North Shore Medical Supply. North Shore Medical Supply, guys, they make their top of the line North Shore Megamax diaper, their North Shore Supreme pull up, their North Shore Supreme diaper, and their Eternal boosters. So if you know somebody out there that needs to wear adult diapers, that needs to be put in adult diapers like I am, guys, well then, ladies and gentlemen, send them on over to my friends at North Shore Medical Supply, and they will make sure that they are diapered up and padded up like me. And before we get this show on the road, literally, guys, if you guys love this episode and any of my other episodes on Nicky's World, can you please consider sharing this across all the social media platforms that are out there today? That was a damn well mouthful. That was a damn well mouthful. And yes, guys, I am diapered up as always. I am in my North Shore Mega Max diapers with my Eternal boosters, and I'm in my t-shirt today, so it's kind of a nicer day today. So anyway, I'm diapered up, padded up. Let's get on with the show, shall we? So, as y'all heard, guys, MySpace is trying to make a comeback. And if any of y'all were alive back then, back in 2003, everybody had a MySpace page, including yours truly, your host, Nicky here, that had a MySpace page in 2003. And then what happened was Facebook came along and then basically swept MySpace off the planet, and Facebook took over for a while as the dominant social media platform. Okay. So what happened was after Facebook became the dominant media platform and going after so many years of all this, guys, it's like MySpace wants to make a comeback. Yeah, MySpace wants to revive the old days of social media in 2003 to 2005. They want to revive the old school days of social media. But the problem with that now is that you got a crop of competitors who are going after Facebook. So MySpace is going to be entering a crowded field. And that crowded field includes MeWe, which is what I'm on, Minds, which is what I'm on as well. And I used to be on Facebook when it started in 2005, all the way up until 2025 when they booted me out because they accused me of having a fraudulent like activity, which I was like, it's like, what fraudulent activity? So I said, bye, done, and I left them. But what's nice about MySpace making a comeback, you get to show your top eight, your top eight friends that you talk to on a regular basis, that you talk to all the time. MySpace trying to make a comeback, ladies and gentlemen. They want to revive the nostalgia. I guess the millennials want to relive those early days of social media where it was the really wild, wild west, where people could say whatever you want, ladies and gentlemen, without fear of being like harassed, hounded, intimidated, or doxxed. You could literally say your piece. And the surprising thing, ladies and gentlemen, we were able to. Nowadays, you say something that someone doesn't like, they dox you. They harass, hound you, and they try to get your whatever you wherever you work to kick your ass off. It's like nowadays people want to go back to the old school days, and that's why I have alternative social media. Okay, that's why I have a bunch of alternative social media platforms. The fact that millennials want to go back to the old school days of social media where you had to learn to code as well. And this is where people got hooked on coding back then. And some of us still know those codes like the HTML codes. Come on. If you know those things, man, back then you were like you were like the kings and queens of it all. You were, because you were the guy that were making money like hand over fist. Okay, so like the fact of the matter is, guys, the owners of MySpace, the people who owned MySpace, including the original co-founder Tom Anderson, they want to bring that back. They want to revive the old school days of social media. They want to revive the old days of like what you did on social media. Okay, they really do. But the sad part about this, guys, is the competition. Okay, Facebook has supplanted MySpace since 2005. Problem is now MySpace trying to come back in has a crop of alternative social media platforms that it's going to be competing with. Okay, you got so many alternative social media platforms like Gab, MeWe, Minds, Getter, Rumble, Truth Social, Vero Social, okay, TikTok, Snapchat. You got a crop of these popping up right now, and many of them, ladies and gentlemen, are competing for people's attention. Many of them. So the business field back then was very small, and MySpace could have still like created its own niche, but they didn't do that. But now you have people who have so many niches, so many communities, so many like competing platforms. It's like this. How's MySpace going to be able to regain its dominance? I mean, it probably will with millennials who are fed up with Facebook's nanny style of internet where you can't say certain things, post certain things without being blocked, suspended, deplatformed, or you got people who like harass, bully, intimidate, dox, or threaten to have you like fired, canned, or canceled. It's like I love to go back to the old school days of social media, but today's social media is so hostile, toxic. The only way I can see MySpace making a comeback is if they fix the hostility and toxicity in social media. If you fix that, ladies and gentlemen, I can see us going back to that. I could really, really do. Okay, and I like the fact that MySpace, you had your favorite songs on there, you had your favorite artists on there. Okay, you had your top 8 friends, and I can tell you this: how many of y'all had the top 8 friends on MySpace that y'all chatted with and still? Just ask yourself that question. But the fact is, guys, the fact of the matter is, MySpace trying to make a comeback is going to be making a comeback in a crowded field, and they're going to have to try to win over millennials. Okay, win over people who are sick and tired of Facebook's like authoritarian stance, like you can't post this or this or this, or if you post this and this and this, they block, suspend, deplatform, or rip your account for no apparent reason. MySpace is going to have to fix all that shit if they're going to make a comeback. But the patchwork right now, as I see it, is with a crop of alternative social media platforms like MeWe and Minds. MeWe and Minds are Facebook's competitors. They're the biggest competitors right now for like Facebook. And MySpace coming in is going to be coming into a crowded competitive field. And the fact that people are gravitating to Minds and MeWe because the fact that they're sick and tired of what Facebook has done to them. Facebook has become authoritarian. They've like blocked, suspended, deplatformed people just for having a mere political opinion, a stance, a viewpoint, or belief. So many of them have migrated to MeWe and Minds. MySpace making a comeback. They're gonna be gravitating towards millennials who want to relive the old days of watching Friends or watching Baywatch, okay, or In Living Color or SNL before it went woke. Yeah, so they're gonna want that kind of clientele, and I believe there is a niche for millennials who want to go back to that era. And currently, right now, those people who want to go back to that era of social media where there was a lot of privacy, a lot of like openness and all that, that's through MeWe and Minds right now. MySpace making a comeback. They want the nostalgia. They want the nostalgia of the early 2000s or before 9/11. They want all that. And that's why I look at it like this. MySpace making a comeback? Yeah, that's great. But they're going to make a comeback in a crowded field, and that crowded field is great as a capitalist because you know why? I believe in free market economy. Let the free market economy play itself out. Whereas like whereas the communists and the DSA members who think that you should all be using this platform, this, and this, and this, and this. But to me, I like to bring back the nostalgia. I like to bring back the days of like where people weren't woke, weren't retarded, weren't stupid, weren't uptight about things, where everybody treated everybody with respect, dignity, and fairness. But now everybody's so woke, so broke, so like in your face and all this shit. It's like you can't even say any you can't even like say hi online without someone trying to harass, bully, intimidate, dox, or cancel you. You can't anymore. So you know why? MySpace would bring the nostalgia back, which is kind of great. And I like the nostalgia. That's why it's like this, guys. You see me looking at old school TV shows in the 1990s and early 2000s, like on Pluto TV. I like those. I like those because it takes me back to an era, ladies and gentlemen. It takes me back to an era where people weren't so uptight about things, where people weren't so apprehensive about things. It takes me back to an era where people were just people and people said things that they didn't care about your pronouns, your identities, your political opinions, beliefs, and viewpoints. People were people. And the original idea with social media was to connect with people. But now, today's social media, we've gone from connecting people in the late 90s and early 2000s to now we're so disconnected that just to say hello to someone on a social media platform invites your trouble. But back in the old days, if you wanted to say hello to people, you just say hi. I'm so and so. And back then, everybody had your ASL, and ASL is not like American Sign Language. Okay, it's more like your age, sex, and location, and that was great. That was a great introduction back then. And to me, I think the millennials who want to bring that back want to relive those days of early social media. And early social media was the wild wild west. Nobody cared if you were like a tranny or a gay, lesbian, bi. They didn't care about that back then. Now it's like you got dudes use the trans label just to cover for their sexual fetish and sexual kink. Yeah, that's why I like the old days of social media. That's why I like bringing back where everybody could say their shit without people getting shit on for it. That's what I like about the old days, and I'm glad MySpace is considering making a comeback, because for them to make a comeback, guys, it's reviving the old days of social media. It's reviving the days where people could say their shit and not be shit on for it. Okay? I mean, nowadays, if I say shit or I show my social media profile, I fucking get shit on by people who would call me like, "Oh, you look like you're mentally ill. You look like a dude in a dress. You look like a tranny," and all that shit. Nowadays, nowadays you can't even show your show your face on social media without getting shit on by people who think you look like this and this and this and this. Back in my day, we just had like whatever they had, like the early profile pictures, like a cartoon type. Okay, but now when you put your profile picture, it's like, if I like me, many times I have me like dressed as who I am, but then you get people like idiots and retards who sit there and say, "Oh, you look like a dude in a dress and this and this." This is why I long for the old days of social media. I long for the early days, like the late 90s and 2000s, when we had Friendster, when we had like Tripod, GeoCities, when we had like MySpace. MySpace was the dominant platform in the 90s and early 2000s, okay? We had that, and we had it before we all blew it away and let Facebook destroyed everything. Yeah, we really did. We really fucking did back then. But now we're making this up by trying to revive MySpace, but MySpace has a crop of competition, namely from Facebook, MeWe, and Minds. All those are all those are in play. The biggest competitor to Facebook is MeWe and Minds. Those two are the biggest dominant competitions for Facebook. Okay, people who are sick and tired of Facebook being authoritarian, like blocking them, suspending them, deplatforming them, or even removing their profile picture because it's not approved by them. I see them more and more gravitating towards MeWe and Minds. I see them moving in that direction. I see them gravitating towards that area. And that's what's dawned upon me, is that people are sick and tired of Facebook, okay? Facebook is becoming so geriatric now that the only people left on Facebook are old people and people from the beginning who are still stuck there, who are aging out. The teenagers now are like, they don't go on Facebook anymore. Facebook is literally dying and literally like 1 foot away from being the next MySpace. That's why they bought Instagram, but Instagram is only keeping them alive or basically on life support. What happens if the day Instagram gets beaten out by a competitor like Vero Social, which I believe will be an Instagram killer if it does it right and properly. If it does it, it'll be an Instagram killer, and then next thing you know, once Vero Social kills Instagram, Facebook goes with it. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, Facebook has been dominant since like 2005. And since then, it has gone progressively like downhill. and it's almost to the point right now. Facebook has become a geriatric center, a geriatric millennial aging center, where you got millennials right now who were on it in 2005, all the way up until their like 30s and 40s, and they're gonna about to get their what? Their like EKG and colonoscopy, and it's gonna be like at that point, it's like Facebook doesn't have anybody young to come back in anymore. And then you got a lot of these millennials who want to relive the MySpace days. They long for that back. So as a result, guys, MySpace making a comeback, and they announced it on the media circuit. It's like, holy shit, we're making a comeback. We're coming back to the old days. And I'll give you an example, prime example. Yahoo Games had online games which you can chat and play with anyone. And that was kind of wicked cool back then. Yahoo had all that, man. Yahoo had games where you can play blackjack, poker, or chess or checkers with anyone globally. And that was really cool back then. Okay, that was really cool. That's how you got to connect with one another. That's how you really got to chat with one another back then. That's how you really, really did. But now, man, now, now with social media being so fragmented, so disconnected, so discombobulated, bringing MySpace back, ladies and gentlemen, brings back the nostalgia, brings back to the era of social media where people could say their shit without being shitted on by people. People could say shit about people without being crapped on, without being shitted on. And a lot of people who were able to do that, my God, ladies and gentlemen, my God. But the nice thing about that, guys, the nice thing about MySpace making a comeback, it forces the competitors to really work hard to keep their customers, much like car dealerships, okay? Much like your car dealerships out there today. It forces them to work hard to attract and retain a customer and a loyal following. So it forces them. So now that MySpace making a comeback, I bet you Mark Zuckerberg is sitting there going like this. Well, time to really go after them again. But he's him thinking that he can like redominate MySpace. But then the next thing you know, he's probably looking at the top of the telephone line, going, "Oh shit." MeWe and Minds are like vultures going like this. And when is Facebook going to be like MySpace so we can go after them? And it's going to be like that, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. But I will tell you this. I will tell you this. If MySpace does make a comeback, I'll be glad to relearn HTML. HTML is what I still use on my WordPress site. Because if you know how to use HTML, ladies and gentlemen, you know how to use WordPress. Okay, so once you learn that stuff, you never forget it. It's like riding a bicycle. Once you learn how to code like HTML and all that, my God, you become like the dominant player of social media. You become the dominant player on the internet. And this is why I tell a lot of people as an MSW student and a case manager, I tell a lot of my clients is like this. If you want to be a dominant player in the IT space, be an IT professional, have skills like web design, coding, and cybersecurity. You're going to be in so demand for a lot of companies that you're probably going to make as much as a nurse, and you'll be like this. And you're a nurse? I'm the guy that makes sure that your IT is secure. Yeah. So that's why I tell a lot of these people that, and a lot of these people will probably are going to go to school for it, and they're probably going to be the ones living in like $500,000 houses and up because they work as an IT tech and they work as their cybersecurity guy from home, and they're probably sitting in a nicer house going like this. All right, let me take my iPad out, check to see the mainframe, see how everything's doing, blah 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 blah. Yeah, but this is why I tell people like this. MySpace introduced people to coding, and if you don't understand that, you're as dumb and clueless as ever. And I know there are a lot of millennials who think they're hip and trendy and all that, but back then we had movies that weren't woke. We had movies that had soul, that could tell a story no matter how old you fucking get. Okay? Like, I'll give you an example. Mystic Pizza, like, what's the other one? What's the other one? Like Ghostbusters, like that. Top Gun, the original, like uh like Footloose, okay? That spawned a whole genre, including like Kevin Bacon, and quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Bacon is a resident of Connecticut, and I do know where he lives. I do know the hometowns, okay? But I think like this. I think like this. MySpace trying to make a comeback. MySpace trying to revive the good old days of social media. It's kind of a good thing for a couple of reasons. As someone who's a capitalist, I believe in free market competition. I believe that Facebook should not be the dominant social media platform, that a healthy competition and is a good thing. And also let the consumers decide. Okay? It's like car dealerships, and probably the lunatic leftists today who are what in school probably don't understand. Social media is like a car. You pick your favorite car. There you go. Some people like Subaru. Some people like Ford. Some people like Chrysler. Some people like Honda. Some people like Toyota. Some people like Kia. Social media is the same way too. Treat social media like a car dealership. If you prefer a particular car, great. Social media should be the same thing. Okay, MySpace making a comeback, great. It'll fill a niche. Okay, it'll fill a niche for millennials, especially young millennials in the what in what the 80s and 90s, who were born in the 80s, grew up as teenagers in the 90s, and became young adults in early 2000. Yeah, it'll be a niche for them. It'll be a niche for error. And the fact of the matter is, if they want to relive those old days, great. They want to relive those old days of hip hop, R&B. You know what I mean? Like relive those old days of like where people weren't so uptight, weren't so defensive, weren't so woke, broke, weren't so mean to people that like if you said something somebody didn't like, they will try to get you canceled, fired, deplatformed, and all that shit that you see in 2026. It's like, I long for those old days. I long for those old days, man. Even like the old days of Baywatch or 21 Jump Street or Ally McBeal, where Ally McBeal had on the main theme of the set had like a gender neutral bathroom, which if I were to show that TV show today, people would be like this. What the fuck is this? Yeah, the younger generation would probably never understand what Ally McBeal is, and if you ever want to know, Go look it up on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Go look it up. Okay? Seriously, go look it up. But I will tell y'all this, guys. I will tell y'all this is that MySpace making a comeback made me smile. Made me smile because it made me think about the old days of social media where people weren't so uptight. People said shit that they like. People were like basically who they were. People basically were able to say their shit, list their top 8 friends, list their favorite songs. Okay, and I can tell you, I have my favorite songs from Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, and New Edition. Okay, and Bobby Brown and all that. Come on, yep, and New Kids on the Block, like that. Yeah, but nowadays, social media has become like a perpetual minefield, so to speak, where if you were to walk tiptoe into one platform or say hi, you'd probably get shit on within less than 5 seconds. You'd probably get shit on so fast that it'd make your head spin. It really would. But the fact of the matter is, guys, those days are what the millennials are drawing people back to MySpace. When people heard MySpace is making a comeback, and the owners of MySpace are trying to figure out how to do that, I sit there and I go like this. I'm glad they're gonna do that because it's gonna give Facebook a fucking run for their money, and it's really gonna make them work hard to try to attract and retain their users when they're bleeding users to TikTok, Snapchat, like Instagram, or a crop of alternative social media platforms that I'm on, including including the President Trump's own Truth Social. Yeah, so it's gonna force the main social media companies like YouTube and Facebook to do to work harder to attract and retain their customers. And since MySpace making a comeback, I'm like this. Bring it, bring it, kids, bring it, because I will be the dominant HTML coder there, and I'm gonna tell you all this. If y'all want to learn how to HTML code, come to your gal right here. Your gal will show you how to HTML code. Like if it's like the late 90s and early 2000s. It's like if you don't know how to HTML code, you weren't the shit. That's why back then people like me who read books on coding, programming and all that, how to code and all that, we were the ones like writing codes for MySpace. We were the dominant player. We were the hipsters back then. And that's what a lot of millennials want to bring back. They want to bring back that nostalgia that they were the shit. They were the hipsters of all that. They were the in guys. They were the ones that, hell yeah, they were making a comeback. Hell yeah, they are back in style. But they were the ones that they were like the in crowd. That's why I believe like this. There are people who are sick and tired of Reddit. There are people who are sick and tired of Facebook, okay? Especially like Facebook being authoritarian and all that. They're sick and tired of it. So when MySpace announced that they're making a comeback, they were like, holy shit. They were so ecstatic. They were like so happy, so gleeful. Even me. I was so happy when I found out and I'm hearing MySpace making a comeback. And I'm like we're going back back to the early to the late 90s and early 2000s, ladies and gentlemen. We're going back to that style of social media. And I know like a lot of these young dumb woke retards are probably going to have a meltdown because they're going to be like this. What the fuck is MySpace? Because many of them now that are like what in college, they were probably like what they were like born in the late '90s, like that, and what you call it, they grew up in the early 2000s, and they're in college now, so they're probably sitting there going, "What the fuck is MySpace? Never heard that before. Never." But I'm glad it's making a comeback, guys. I'm so glad it is because MySpace making a comeback on social media, that's going to force Facebook to polish their site a little more, or to be a little more competitive, because they're going to, because once MySpace goes live, it's it's going to force competition from Facebook, MeWe, and Minds, because it's going to force them to go like this. It's like, hey, Facebook, you used to be great, but now you become so authoritarian. I went to MeWe. MeWe was a holdover until something better came up. But then the nostalgia of MySpace making a comeback, yeah. And then that's when you look at that and then you go like this. People want to go back to the old ways of doing things because the old ways of doing things were a lot better than the new ways. And a lot of people who want the old ways of doing things are like, yeah, I want the nostalgia. I want the old school of doing things. I want the old school of like going back on these platforms and all that. I want to be able to say shit without being doxxed, deplatformed, canceled, or harassed, hounded, bullied, or intimidated. Yeah, I want to go back to the old ways, to the old school way of social media. And the old school of social media, we didn't care where you worked or what you did. We didn't care as long as you weren't being a jerk, a jackass, or a dickhead. Nowadays, they're so everybody's so like uptight about their name, their status, and all that. I'm like, dude, I miss the '90s, the '80s, the '90s, and the early 2000s. I miss that era. I really do. But yeah, MySpace making a comeback, guys. I say like this: bring it, bring it. It's gonna force Facebook to eat itself alive, because it'll force them like this. It'll force Facebook to say like this: "Oh shit, MySpace making a comeback. Oh shit, what are we gonna do to retain the user base that we have? What are we gonna do to retain them so they don't flee back to the old school?" That's going to force them that. MeWe is probably going to force them to go, how how do we retain these people who fled Facebook and not flee to MySpace? Many of them will still stay on MeWe because MeWe is so focused on privacy and basically like customization that many of them are just going to stay. But many of them will just keep a MySpace just for the nostalgia, like the classic car type mentality. They're going to keep it like that, and that's what I think is going to happen to them. So that's why I sit there and I go like this. Yeah, they're gonna do it. They're really, really gonna do it. Since Minds is a Connecticut-based social media platform. People are gonna want to stick to Minds because they want that free speech. They both Minds and MeWe's. They're gonna have people who want to stick around because they want that free speech. They want that ability to say stuff without fear of being blocked, suspended, deplatformed, canceled, harassed, hounded, or intimidated. They want that. So they're gonna stick around to that. But wow, that was a good long show, guys. That was a fucking good long show. And yeah, I'm glad MySpace is making a comeback. I'm glad it is, guys. So I'm happy for it and I'm excited that it will be making a comeback. All right. So, anyway, guys, I want to thank you guys for listening to Nicky's World. I'm Nicky, your host. I will see y'all soon. Bye for now.
You just listened to an episode of Nicky's World. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all soon. Bye for now.